Decoding Learning Differences with Kimberlyn Lavelle, and this episode is Maximize Life, No Degree Required with Jen Doidge. Now, unlike most of our podcast guests, Jen is not any particular kind of expert in the field of education. She doesn't have any business or anything she's trying to sell anyone that I'm aware of right now, although she has in the past. Jen is a friend of mine that I think has an amazing story, just one of those people that you always want to talk to and hear stories from, and I think she's got a lot of wisdom to share. So I really wanted her on the podcast. I reached out to her and asked if she would share some of her wisdom. And a lot of what we talk about in here is how you can have a really amazing life without ever going to college, because a lot of the jobs that she has had were really fun and enjoyable and lucrative and did not require college degrees. Without further ado, here's our conversation. Jen, it is amazing to have you on the podcast. You are a very different kind of interview than I usually ever do, or that I've ever done, because you're a friend of mine and just an amazing person that I felt like I had to share with the world, or more of the world, because you already share yourself with so many people. But so yeah, I wanted to talk a bit about I want to start with, I think, your life philosophy. So you're all about maximize. Will you just share with people a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're never promised tomorrow, so you got to maximize today. So the biggest thing in my kind of motto is maximize life, because you got one life and you just got to live it and live it every day to the absolute fullest. And I totally live by that 100%.
Yes, yes. You amaze me at how well you exemplify that philosophy, where, someone else wouldn't think they have time to do something because they already have plans that day. You've got like 5 other activities, and it's incredible.
I have been told that I've done more in a day than most people do, like in a year. So
Yeah,
it's
more
kind of
than some
crazy to
people.
think that.
Yeah, and more than some people do in a lifetime. Like you do a lot. So what'd you do today?
Today. Um, well, this morning started off on my one wheel. So the electric skateboard scooter motorized one wheel, and I cruised down. I'm currently in Kentucky, and the Ohio River's nearby. So it was like a little 5 mile trip on the one wheel. I cruised over, and the funniest part of my whole day was this old lady. She must have been in her like late 70s. She goes, "You're doing it the lazy way." And I laughed so hard. I was like, "You were absolutely right." They were walking along the trail and I was cruising by on my electric, wheel, and I just thought that was so funny. It made my day. Um but yeah, after that, I took my motorcycle for a ride today. I went for a cruise around the lake. I live by a lake here, so it's always a beautiful ride to do that. And then I was about to go even further and ride down to like another lake, but I got a call from a friend saying, "Jen, we're going jet skiing today. You should head down and meet us." And they're like an hour away. And I never turn down a fun day of riding the vintage style stand-up jet skis. So I was all over that. We grilled out, hung out by the river, and we watched the sunset, and we rode until the sunset. And these big barges will cruise down the Ohio River, making these big waves, so you could just jump and get air. And it's just so much fun. Today was a fantastic day.
And it doesn't sound unusual. Like, I feel like when you post about your day, that's typical in like, as in you never have a typical day, but you always have like a whole list of things and you're always having an amazing day.
It's always a great day to have an amazing day.
I love it. I always say I want to be Jen Doidge when I grow up.
Aw, that's sweet.
Um, Another aspect of that is, and I don't know if it's just my perspective, but it feels like you always have a very positive outlook on everything, including like a lot of negative things that people would be like very upset about. You never seem upset.
Well, bad things happen and it's part of life. And I think that a big part of life is experience. And so you take what you want to from all experiences, whether they're good or bad. I mean, um, I'll give you a great example. My grandma, I went everywhere with her. I did everything with her. I took her to Europe for her 90th birthday. For her 95th birthday, I had her in Alaska, and I had the whole saloon singing to her in Homer, Alaska. And I mean, she is just the coolest grandma, always wanted to do everything. And unfortunately, she just passed away. I mean, it was just so sad. But what it was so cool is I just got to spend the last like 3 weeks of her life with her, and I played cards with her, and my mom was confident that I extended her life in some form. And I just came home and I would tell her stories about my day, and it was just so fantastic. And yeah, it was like a really sad time, but at the same time, like, man, I got to live, like, I maximized my time with my grandma, and I could say that confidently. I mean, to the end. And it's like, of course, it's a bad thing, but you could be sad, or you could say, man, I have these fantastic memories of. Man, I even took grandma to surf camp in Nicaragua when she was 86. I mean, I have a picture of grandma with a surfboard. I mean, it's cool. So yeah, you could easily take negative things and think of the most positive thing that can come from it. So it's really, I guess, a skill, because most people are so easy to get sucked into negativity. I call those people vampires. They will suck the life out of you, and they'll suck the joy from you. And it's up to you to really turn around and talk people into being that happy person and seeing the positive things. And if you could make a comment that might help them change their mind about something, then that's a good thing. So yeah, I suppose it's something you got to work on. And I just try to live my life like that, because I think that's the better, happier way to live. And you know, if you've heard of the laws of attraction, that always comes from positive thinking. And if I think I'm going to be a millionaire, I mean, then you know what? You're gonna be. Like, if you think it and believe it every single day, you will get there. I mean, it's inevitable. And if people don't maybe per se believe that, but it's so true. Everything that I ever wanted, it just happens, like magic. Just, I mean, because I think it's gonna happen, and then bam, it happens.
Yeah, I remember you recently told me that you were surprised that you didn't win a raffle or something, which is like luck. Like, it's supposed to be luck, but you just know that you're going to win them all the time, and you just do. And you didn't win this one time. You're like, how did you win that? I always win.
Yeah, but you know what was really cool about the guy that did win? Man, he didn't have any money, and it was like the newest thing he had ever owned in his life, and he won it. He was so happy. And that all of us ever wanted was to see that jet ski get raced and put in, and the whole idea is to grow the sport. And man, he did that, and he was well deserving, and I'm stoked for him. So yeah, I thought I was taking it home with me, but sometimes if you just keep saying it, I mean, most of the time it happens. But in other ways, like I won that weekend too. I just didn't get to take home a free jet ski, but it's all right. I'm happy for the guy.
Yeah, well, then there you go. You didn't get upset about it. You're still seeing that positive outlook. It's like, it's still perfect. Whatever happened is perfect. I love it. All right. One of the other things I really wanted you to share with the audience is some of the very cool, amazing jobs that you've done over the years that did not require a college degree, because I know a lot of kids that have learning disabilities, or a variety of things, and just anyone in general, doesn't necessarily want to go to college. But then we've all been like trained that if you don't go to college, your life is going to be miserable, and like your only option is to work at McDonald's or something. So
No way.
will you share
Well,
some of the things you've done?
sure, yeah. No, this is a no-brainer. And you know what? This is another thing that I learned. What I decided to do was, amongst living my life to the fullest, is like, what are the things that I love to do? Okay, so I'll give you an example. I learned to scuba dive, and oh my gosh, I had a whole new world to explore. And yes, it was incredible. And so I'm like, oh, how cool is it to think of all the things that you love to do and just get paid to do it? And so I'm like, well, how do I do that? Oh, well, you could be an instructor. Like, I can. Oh, well, I can. And then bam, I'm an instructor. And then I got to the point where I was teaching other people to be instructors and to share my passion for this like amazing underwater world. But it doesn't end there. I wanted to learn whitewater rafting. I literally like bought a raft that I was like, maybe I should learn what I'm doing so I don't get dead. Well, I went to whitewater rafting guide school, which was like, and I remember, Kim, I remember one thing you said is like, hey, even if I don't like it, I get to pay for a week of rafting for super cheap. And I got to go whitewater rafting for a week. Well, at the end of guide school, unbeknown to me, they're like, we're going to hire you. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, I didn't expect a job out of this. I just wanted to learn how to not be dead in my little raft that was like so unsafe to take on a raging river. But that's beside the point. I've learned my lessons. So yeah, so I became a scuba instructor. I became a whitewater rafting guide. I then became a swiftwater rescue instructor. Because the other thing is these are safety related things and you really should know them as much as you possibly can know, whether you teach them or not. I mean, the classes just really teach you how to be safe and look out for other people also. And so my friends are always invited when I go play. um, let's see, aside from that, I learned to rappel down waterfalls. I got to the point where I could teach canyoneering, and I mean, you get paid for this stuff. Like, you're out there playing, and then at the end of the day, you get a check. You get sometimes cash tips for these things. And I mean, it's just like, what a life, man. Like, you could do everything you want to do and get paid to do it. Um, Also snowboarding. I love snowboarding. I became a snowboarding instructor. And none of these things required a college degree. All of these things was like, hey, I want to learn it. Let me give the place a call and ask them if they know how I can learn to be better at it. How can I get to be that person? You could take a snowboard lesson and go and ask your instructor, how do I become an instructor one day? And they're like, you know what? We're going to teach you. And guess what it cost me to become a snowboarding instructor? $0. I literally interviewed with them. I told them I knew how to snowboard, and they said, great, we're going to teach you everything you know how to do. And then guess what? You get a snowboard for free. You get paid to do it. And we're also going to give you clinics once in a while that'll teach you how to be a better snowboarder in your free time. I remember learning the super pipe. I didn't pay for that class. That class would have cost me $700 to learn that. But because I was an instructor, I got to go for free and I got to learn how to go whoop, whoop, whoop. And it was incredible. And gosh, I'm sure there's more jobs I'm thinking of. Oh, okay, here's a good one. So I'm a pilot, and the greatest thing is you don't need a college degree to become a pilot. Like, talk about how cool is this? I get to play a video game for a living. Like, I am given a jet to fly, and then it's essentially me going to where I get to go have a play day somewhere in the world. So I just flew across the ocean to Europe. I spent the day exploring Nottingham. This is where Robin Hood legit was like walking around back in the day. And I got to go into the castle and into the caves and like, gosh, yeah, I don't work a day in my life. I just get to have fun every day, and you can too. I mean, there's so many options. Think about what you want to do more than anything. Like, I like to write. Well, then be a writer. I back out of high school, I was in videography. I did a lot of videography. And so I joined the high school yearbook and I did all these things. Well, I saw a camera crew filming at boat races, and I went up and I asked them, I was like, oh my gosh, you do what I do for fun. Like, I love editing videos. I love doing this. And they said, oh, well, we could use an intern. And I was like, really? And so guess where I went? I went and I held a video camera and I interviewed people, and I got to travel for free. I got paid eventually. I mean, it was an internship at the time, but yeah, they would start paying you. They'd pay for your hotel room. They would transport you where you needed to go. You would fly in a helicopter holding a video camera filming these boats go around in circles. I mean, it was awesome. And yeah, it turned into something where it's like I at the time I decided to go a different route. I in my life than doing the television thing, but it was definitely a passion that I was able to pursue for free without a college education. And I mean, it's just so cool. Their possibilities are endless. You really can do all of these things. But going back to the fact that I'm a pilot, again, you don't need a college degree to be a pilot. And a lot of people wonder, like, oh, well, you got to know math really well. Well, I sucked at math. And I never wanted to finish college because of math. I hate it. I and people are like, "Well, how can you be a pilot if you don't like math?" I mean, it's nuts. But honestly, you're taught everything you need to know. Everything's computerized. And again, now that one did cost some money, but what I will tell you is that scholarships are available for training for that specific topic. I know a guy who wanted to be a welder, so he took welding classes, and now he makes tons of money as a welder in Illinois. And he didn't go get a college degree; he just did the classes that he did because he liked welding. So again, like I encourage everyone to stop and think of like, what do you like to do for fun that makes you happy? What makes you happy? A 9 to 5 desk job just doesn't sound great to me. And and maybe it does to you, and that's totally fine. But that's something that like your inner person will decide. Like, is it important you have weekends off, or is it important for you to play every single day and get paid for it? I mean, whatever you feel like. It's your life to live, and just as long as you maximize it, it'll work out for you. You do you.
I love that. Yeah. I there's so many things that just watching you do all these things, which luckily I met you in the scuba world, and then you took me canyoneering, and then you talked me into going to guide school, which I was at the end of it, they offered me a job, and I was like, pass, I can't do that. Um, I didn't feel confident, and but that's my own issues.
But you got a week's worth of guiding
Yes,
and you got to
I don't
decide
regret
if
any
you
of it.
wanted to.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't regret any of it. And yeah, and I could have been paid to do it if I'd wanted to keep doing it. So it was awesome. And yeah. So it's so cool. And it's
When
good to
I
know, like you said, with the math and things being not not an obstacle for you. That's good.
No, yeah, well, I did end up continuing school because at the time it was necessary to get the best job in aviation. But now with the pilot shortage, it's not even necessary. Um, and I've lost my train of thought. I was going to tell you something, but that's okay. Oh
Um,
yeah, no, I was gonna say, hey, if you like boats, I mean, you could be a boat captain, and you could just go to school for that, and it's anything you want, and people just don't think that like, hey, I like to ride bicycles, like how could I turn that into a career? Well, it's really wouldn't be hard to like get sponsorships to do something incredible, like ride the bicycle across the country, and you get paid to do that too. People just, I mean, literally, the sky's the limit, or not the limit, because there's the ocean, there's outer space. I mean, you got options.
I love that. There is no limit. Yeah. Yeah, the sky's not the limit because you're up flying in the sky, and then if you wanted to, you would go beyond.
Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like it's important to point out that you're not like a small pilot. I don't know how to say that. You don't just fly like small planes. Like you are a captain at UPS. You fly giant planes. You're very successful as a captain or as a pilot.
Yeah, I mean, my job is cool, and I get to see the world work. I mean, we'll pick up TVs and cell phones in Korea, and we'll bring them back to the U.S. We'll go down to South America, pick up flowers, bring them back to the U.S. Sometimes we even transport like organs, like for medical reasons, and we're saving people's lives by getting them there timely. So it's a
Oh,
very rewarding job. I mean, aside from the world of commerce and see how that works. But yeah, I get time, I get downtime, I get to hang out in Hawaii, I get to see the world, and that was my dream, and I made that dream come true, and I'm stoked that I did that because I was on a different path before I started, thinking the way I do. I was working in a hospital in the X-ray department, and they had a program that if you were to go to school to become an ultrasound technician or a technician in the X-ray department in the world, that they would reimburse you for classes. And didn't require a degree. Again, this is specialized training, technical school rather. And you just kind of learn the trait for that. And I thought it would be a good job, a good rewarding job. And then as I worked in the hospital and how you're around all these sick people, and they just kind of bum you out because they're never in a good mood. Again, there's these vampires, and it's not their fault. They're sick, and it is what it is. But I'm like, how about we just go back to this idea of, yeah, I want to get paid to travel the world, and basically, I get to take myself there. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. And that's a good story and another job that you did. I feel like
Right.
we, I feel like we must also be missing jobs that you've done because it just feels like you've done so much in your life already. And always, and even that you've maximized, like you maximize how far you go in each profession, and you do multiple at the same time, like where you were doing, like you were a rafting guide in the summer and then a snowboard instructor in the winter and a scuba instructor. I don't even know when. Just
Pretty much year round, yeah. Oh, and here's a good one. As a high school student, I was really into punk rock and roll, and I decided that I wanted to learn how to make my own t-shirts because I'm going to be the cool kid that has something special that no one else has. And I learned how to do it. I mean, with the advent of YouTube now, it'd be a no-brainer. You could learn how to make your own t-shirts in your bathroom, and that's exactly what I did. And what I did was I started a screen printing business at the age of 18, and I did all this just by learning on my own with trial and error, just like, let's try this, let's do this. I think I got a book. I mean, no one actually taught me. I don't even remember how I learned this stuff. But I literally would make these boat racing t-shirts with the screen printer, and I would go to these boat races on a weekend, and I'd come home with $2,000 to $3,000 for a weekend in my pocket because I did all the work. And I mean, that took zero training, and I was making very lucrative money. I mean, as an 18-year-old making bank, you could literally do that. I had an LLC. I did everything right because, I'm just by the way, an LLC, limited liability company, very smart if you do decide to start your own business because then they can't take all your money and sue you for everything you got for your private possession. So just a tip if you decide that you want to start your own company based on this knowledge, to do an LLC. I think it costs $15 to get your business. I don't know. It's probably changed since then. Look into it. It would be smart.
it is good advice. Good advice. And I didn't even know about that one.
That's fine. Oh, you didn't know about that job?
That job, yeah. Yeah, I have an LLC, but yeah, your life is just always so fun to hear about. I love all of your stories. Every time I talk to you, you've got a new story.
It's true. You could basically pick a topic and I'll have a story about it.
Well, that's why I
Yeah,
knew
it's
I could
cool.
ask you, well, what did you do today? Because I knew it wouldn't just be, nothing. Always something.
Yeah, I even managed to grill out all in the middle of that. So, yeah, it was a good day. Sun was shining. That was awesome.
Are there any other stories you want to share?
Stories. I will tell you my favorite day ever in California.
Okay.
Um, it started in the morning teaching snowboarding lesson in Big Bear, California, and then coming down to rappel some waterfalls at a waterfall chain called Bonita Waterfalls. And these are these huge 200-foot falls, and they're just so cool. And after that, I had the perfect trifecta of a day because I went night scuba diving with some friends. I think we were going for lobsters and stuff. So, I mean, talk about like this was one day of my life that was so memorable. And the reason why I think I have all these fantastic stories is because I'm a yes person. And if you say no, 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 no all the time, you're never gonna you'll always remember what you did, you'll never remember what you didn't do. So if you have one takeaway from this whole day, be a yes person and go out there, experience life, and just smile doing it, and you will live your best life.
Yes.
That's my advice.
Yes. I think that was part of right at the beginning of when I met you. I think I had separately decided that I wanted to just always say yes. And then it was like right after I met you, you like invited me to go canyoneering like the next day because that's the kind of person you are, where you're just super friendly, invite people to go everywhere. I was like, sure, yep, I say yes to everything now. And so I like had to meet at some person's house who I didn't even really know. And I'm like, whatever, borrowing people's gear. I don't know any of these people. Okay. And then I found out it was like somebody's birthday and I don't even know this person, but oh well, you invited me. So now I'm there. But I appreciated it because it turned, it allowed me to meet people and have friendships and try new things. And I
And
thought,
guess what? You remember that day so perfectly, right?
yeah,
It was a
yeah,
fantastic adventure
yeah.
that you would have never remembered if you said no. So
Right.
good job.
Right. Yeah, I would have had a very boring day if I hadn't decided to just, okay, I'm a yes person now. It doesn't matter if I'll get over all my social stuff and I'll just say yes.
Good for you. Oh, that's cool.
So thank you so much for being who you are and for being on our podcast today.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad this worked out. It's so good to see you.
It was good to see you.